Hello, hello. This is week 8 of the 13-week fiscal program for American Prisoners of War. You have myself, Chief Biko. Today we have Chief Blackcoat as well as Chief Alligator. And here, as always, we focus more so on that first letter in the acronym APOW, which is American. First, we will have Chief Alligator start with the 12 steps. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right.
All right, 13-week practical program of action for American prisoners of war. Step 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Step 2, who established that estate. Step 3, what tribe and confederacy had jurisdiction over that area prior to the European. Step 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations? Step 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3. In addition, field trips to APOW landmarks in that city, county, and state are needed. Step 6, don't support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Step 7, avoid spending money with any small business that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, subways, corner stores, etc. Step 8, all businesses need operating cash, spend money with American businesses. Step 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive, set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support our clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Step 10, the US government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The US dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971, the Gold Standard Act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debt and taxes. American prisoners of war no longer have faith in the US government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Step 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about their history on this land. A, have them learn about an American inventor. B, have them know about our heroes. C, they should know the European that conquered the estate you live in. D, they should know the nation of people prior to European invasion, militarily and culturally. And 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we're claiming, America, and attaches us to the history and laws of the US government. Every estate American prisoners of war live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in one fiscal quarter will bring us together for our common cause. And the step for me today, if you can scroll back up, Chief Biko, would be step 4. Ask all nonprofit organizations you attend, what's your position on reparations? There's a lot of talk going around right now about Black Lives Matter, now that they had to provide their financial report for last year, expenses and income they received. And instead of our group of people being upset or feeling like they were betrayed by this organization, had you asked that question up front, you would have knew exactly where Black Lives Matter stands. So to me, that's a prime example. Black Lives Matter, NAACP, Urban League, churches, put their feet to the fire and ask these people straight up, what's your stance on us getting everything back that we've already created? And you won't have to worry about millions of dollars being donated and then, you know, her putting her family in certain positions and everything that came along with it. It's really shame on us.
I agree. Holding our people accountable, you know, not just allowing them to come into our communities or come into our factors of our lives and profit off of, you know, negativity or whatever the case may be. But yeah, that was ridiculous. Like you said, the report comes out, all this money being spent on homes. I think she was paying her brother like 6 figures, a high, almost $1 million, 6 figures payroll, you know, for security, which is understandable, family, whatever. But yeah, dog, come on. We got so many issues within the community. I always say, why the hood still like the hood? If she just ran off with Lord knows how much dough she had, that could have went back to the hood, to the communities that's underprivileged, all that good stuff, little things. But and she had enough money for it to be well used. Like the numbers just look staggering, but I'll go ahead and agree with that. For that one that sticks out the most is B2. Ask all nonprofit organizations you attend what's your position on reparation, because we don't know.
No facts. Shoot, like when you said that, it's just kind of clicked something for me. So I'm definitely in alignment with all of the chiefs on the channel. Definitely have to, like you said, put the feet to the fire in regards to these organizations that claim to be for us, for our people. Like, okay, where are these funds going? You know, what are your stances on reparations? What are you doing to advance the progress towards, you know, us actually getting these resources? They're quick to, you know, text and send a mass text message when it's time to vote. Hell, I got one from the NAACP, but just this week, Wednesday, saying, hey, come out and register to vote and stuff like that. I'm like, nah, go ahead. Even if it's an automatic message, I'm like, nah, I'm good. Go ahead and once y'all get something in regards to like an anti-hate, black hate bill, you know, within 60 days, I might think about it. So, you know, they're quick to, you know, they're quick to contact you in regards when it's come to voting, but be silent outside of that. So, no, you're absolutely right. Both of you in regards to that. I'll go ahead and do the inventor for this week. And this week's inventor, we have Samuel R. I believe his last name is Scrotman. Samuel R. Scotron. Samuel R. Scotron, born February 1841, passed in 1914. Don't have the exact date or month, but he is known for, or he actually had this invention, which is the adjustable mirror. So basically, like for barbers to get the full, I guess, range, or allow the client to see like pretty much the full haircut without them having to, you know, get multiple or stand in front of multiple mirrors. He pretty much had it all angled in front of him where he could say, okay, I can see the side of my head, the back of my head, making sure everything's good. But he invented this particular invention. It was patented in March 31st, 1868, and that patent number is 76253. So again, that patent number is 76253, and this is Samuel R. Scotron. As far as, you know, any income from this industry that we receive, I believe it's pretty much similar to the other inventions we've read off, meaning zero type of residual income in regards to this invention. Next, going to go ahead and have, were you doing the chief, the quote, Chief Alligator? Or was that Chief Black Coat?
Yeah, I got it for you.
Okay. Share my screen. And which quote were you going to do this week?
Quote one.
One eye. Can you see it?
Yep. Dr. Carter G. Woodson, the founder of what we know now as Black History Month. I'm going to do quote one this week. It says, philosophers have long conceded, however, that every man has two educators, that which is given him, and the other that which he gives himself. Of the two kinds, the latter is by far more desirable. That sticks out to me because we can just see how backwards we are in a society today where we're supposed to praise the education that was given to us, which would be through the school system. But we can see back in the early 1900s, Dr. Carter G. Woodson and all philosophers in that time, they all knew that self-education was more important than any school system. So that's just further proof of how ass backwards we are, upside down and backwards we are, because this man is telling us you learn more on your own than you will with somebody giving it to you.
Right. Great quote for this week. Great quote. Chief Black Coat, I'll let you go ahead with the legal definitions and marine historical points.
All right, I got you guys. All right, number one, American, indigenous to America. Number two, descendants, one who follows the bloodline of an ancestor, either linearly or collaterally. Number three, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Number four, prisoner of war, POW, equals person, usually a soldier who is captured by surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number six, education, an enlightening experience. Moral historical points. Number one, was a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number two, providing unity and a strong defense came first. Number three, Maroon leaders were first and foremost military leaders. Number four, Maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. Number five, Maroons knew their European enemies' language, defense, and plans.
Thank you there, Chief Blackcoat. Last but not least, we'll jump into the Constitution before we get started with the remaining articles of the Indian Treaty. First and foremost, I want to start off with Article 1, Section 10. Article 1, Section 10 states, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque or reprisal, letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender and payment of debts. So pretty much, as always, this government since 1971, since Gold Standard Act, is no longer backed by gold and silver. So again, pretty much everything is running off the full faith of its citizens. So pretty much basically playing with monopoly money, cryptocurrency, things that aren't actually lawfully considered as money, which would be gold and silver. Next, we'll jump into Article 6. And Article 6 states, the Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the contrary, or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. So again, here, Article 6 just basically is stating that this treaty is the supreme law of the land. We're currently reading the 1866 Indian Treaty. And within that treaty, I want to say it was perhaps like article, I know it's in the 30s, it kind of stated though, clearly stated that the church had pretty much overruled the treaty in regards to, having to have missionaries within these respective nations, them being the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations. Like it was mandatory for them to have, pretty much churches and camps set up within those territories. So that obviously superseded anything that these nations had agreed to. And last but not least, go to Article 2, Section 2. The president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of several states. So again, as we always, hammer home and reiterate, the president is not only the commander-in-chief, but he's the commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy, as well as the militia. So when we see, these sleeper cells or these sometimes, or they usually say unidentified people in these tactical gears, a lot of the times those would more than likely be the militia. More than likely.
Can you back out a little bit? Because I can't see the section on my end that you just read.
The section, let me check here. Look now, that's smaller. Zoom in or back out?
All I see is Section 3 and Section 4.
Section 3 and Section 4, okay.
So I can't see what you read.
Let's see if it'll...
Sounds like you need to zoom in. Yeah, that's what I'm on a computer, so I got the wide screen.
What about now? Kind of zoomed in.
Let me turn it this way. Okay, I got to turn my phone sideways. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay. But again, Commander-in-Chief, President has power over the Army, Navy, and militia, and that is key to understanding this government system. So I'll go back out of there and we'll go ahead and jump straight into this week's readings. No, last week we stopped off, finishing off rather on Article 39. So I'll jump off with Article 40 here. And is that like legible on your end?
We're gonna start at 40.
Yeah, on 40.
Okay.
All right, good. All right, so Article 40, all restrictions contained in any treaty heretofore made or in any regulation of the United States upon the sale or other disposition of personal chattel, property by Choctaws or Chickasaw are hereby removed. So all restrictions contained in any treaty heretofore, so pretty much before this one made, or in any regulation of the United States upon the sale or other disposition of personal chattel, property by Choctaws or Chickasaws are hereby removed. So you're pretty much just saying that all of the other treaties prior to this one are now pretty much voided out. Any agreements, whether it be treaty or any agreements made with the United States, this one is going to supersede all of those previous or prior agreements.
Well, who's the personal chattel? Because it says right there that in any regulation of the United States upon the sale or other disposition of personal chattel. Based on what we've read, who is personal chattel?
Personal chattel would have been, my thought was the African descent slaves.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
And they're property of who? They're property of the Choctaw and the Chickasaws.
Right. Personal chattel. So now we're seeing the language of slavery come into play for sure.
Chattel slavery. Article 41, all persons who are members of the Choctaw or Chickasaw nations and are not otherwise disqualified or disabled shall hereafter be competent witnesses in all civil and criminal suits and proceedings in any courts of the United States made any law to the contrary notwithstanding. So all persons who are members of the Choctaw. So after we was reading, I think that was probably section Article 39 or 38. 39 actually here, or 38 rather, when it was talking about the adoption or who can be adopted into being a Choctaw, Chickasaw member you could be married into. It seems like all of those persons would now be pretty much classified as citizens underneath those respective nations. And I guess what it's reading like to me is like they can be like jurors in criminal suits or criminal court cases.
Well, that's a conflict in itself, because we read earlier in this treaty that the Negro was the only one that could really participate in the tribal court system. But now what they're saying is this is a whole separate nation. But the United States government is saying that this Choctaw and Chickasaw nation, its citizens, can participate in their court proceedings. But you can't do the same in the Choctaw or Chickasaw courts. So you're really, you got dual citizenship, and it makes sense why they would have dual citizenship, because what y'all read last week, they made the European Choctaw Chickasaw. They adopted them, right? They clearly gave them a way in to being an American. So you want to make sure that they can play both sides. They can sit in your tribal courts, and they can sit in the United States. I'm 90% sure that article is for the European, not for melanated people.
This particular one here, Article 41.
What you just read, Chibico.
Yeah, where you can participate in the courts. 1866. Yeah, that didn't pertain to melanated people. That gave that European the chance that he can sit in tribunal courts within the Choctaw Chickasaw, or he can come up under the structure of the United States government. Just got to always remember, it's two separate governments.
Gave him power in both. Gave him power in both structures. Okay. Good call out. Good call out there. Article 42: the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations shall deliver up persons accused of crimes against the United States who may be found within their respective limits on the requisition of the governor of any state for a crime committed against the laws of said state. So now they're saying that the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations are responsible for delivering any persons accused of crimes against any of the United States. So they're found of doing crimes in, let's just say, Texas or Arkansas, then if they're a member of the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, then they are responsible for delivering that accused if they were to, am I thinking like escape that territory or just rounding them up, period? Like you have to go and find them and have them be held accountable within our courts.
It sounds like they just want whoever's in the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation, whoever in charge of keeping crime under control, got to deliver whoever just committed this crime to the United States. And that kind of goes back to what Chief Alligator was saying with having that dual citizenship, because now you can transport or transfer criminals to the United States government. You can cross over into their borders and do things they have or need you to do.
Right. They're not sovereign. So we just see that these two nations aren't independent. That's almost like if a criminal ran into another nation's jurisdiction, right. United States government, even to today, certain nations, they can't go in to go get their criminals. Right. I forgot the name they call it. It's like your asylum. That's what it is. They can go to certain nations and they can seek asylum because the United States doesn't have jurisdiction to go get you. What they're saying here is, and we already know this from earlier articles we read, the United States government is all in their meetings as secretary and treasurer. They're the ones paying these nations. So yeah, they make all the rules. Basically, you work for us.
Right.
And I think this part here just going to even kind of correlate to the Civil Rights Act we read earlier. And upon the requisition of the judge of the District Court of the United States for the district within which the crime was committed. So upon the judge's request from wherever that district, that so-called crime was committed, they had to be brought to that district. So again, this can just be basically he say, she say, like, yeah, they did a crime here. I need Buddy to come and, you know.
It's a fancy way of saying somebody ran off the plantation, bring them back.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
That's what I'm getting.
Pretty much. Article 43. All right. Article 43, the United States promised and agreed that no white person, except officers, agents, and employees of the government and of any internal improvement company or persons traveling through or temporarily sojourning in the said nations or either of them shall be permitted to go into said territory. So they're saying no white person, except for, again, officers, agents, employees of the government, persons traveling through or temporarily sojourning in the said nation shall not be permitted. But it's pretty much just, again, that's a whole clause that they are permitted, because I could just say I'm traveling through. So it's funny how they, especially in this sentence here, try to exclude them, but then they offer all of these loopholes to where, you know, they can still, if anything, pass through.
Yes, this is a prime example of having a forked tongue. This is 100%. This is the best example we've read to this point of how they speak double talk. They just said the United States promised and agreed that no white person, but then they say, oh, if you're an officer, that's a broad statement. Officer could be officer of the court. It could be officer of the law. You could be an employee of the government. Who knows how many agencies they've got at that point. You could be an internal improvement company. So you could be part of the railroad company or so. Come on. I mean, basically, yeah, it's a lie. They saying no white person, but then they turn around and they gave you 6 different options of how you could dwell in the territory. Prime example of doublespeak, forked tongue.
Any thoughts on that, Chief Blackcoat?
No, I think Chief Alligator summed it up with that forked tongue. That's I've been hearing it kind of lately, but yeah, just all over the place.
Definitely can just see the contradiction just in that one run-on sentence, pretty much. Don't stop here. Nations or either of them shall be permitted to go into said territory unless formally incorporated and naturalized by the joint action of the authorities of both nations into one of the said nations of the Choctaw and Chickasaws. So basically, what I'm getting here is that they, again, offered up another clause, basically saying that if they are given, what is that, Choctaw, Chickasaw citizenship or being deemed as a tribesman, whether it be through marriage, legislative authority, then they can actually be permitted there, even though the United States is recognizing them as white persons, but now since they're married or adopted by these respective nations, being the Choctaw and Chickasaws, then they'll be permitted to pretty much be on land. Let's see here. According to their laws, customs, or usage, but this article is not to be construed to affect parties heretofore adopted or to prevent the employment temporarily of white persons who are teachers, mechanics, or skilled in agriculture, or to prevent the legislative authorities of the respective nations from authorizing such works of internal improvement as they may deem essential to the welfare and prosperity of the community, whose community, or to be taken to interfere with or invalidate any action which has heretofore been had in this connection by either of the said nations. So pretty much it said, this is not to be misconstrued that white persons can't occupy this territory. That's what I got from here. What was it? Yeah, this article is not to be construed to affect persons heretofore adopted. So again, those people who have been adopted into those nations or married, or to prevent employment temporarily of white persons, basically talking about employees of in government, internal improvements. So it's basically just, again, a big contradiction, this whole article. That's what I'm getting. Basically, again, like serpent's tongue.
Yeah, looks like the first phase of integration. You allow European peasants to get adopted into these two nations. That was the first mistake that they made. And so now what does that look like? That looks like a wagon full of peasants coming in on horse and carriage. Somebody flashes a badge and say, hey, I'm an officer. And so you just have to pretty much open up the door and let him do whatever he wants. You can see here, teachers, mechanics, skilled in agriculture. So the front door is wide open.
Frontier.
Through this article. They messed up when they let them adopt into the nation. And then once they got them in through adopting them, that's it. Here come the floodgates.
Yeah.
The whole article just explains, hey, here come the...
Right.
It's
pretty
sad.
much. Yeah. I think it's just picking up how we left off last channel, just showing how the European became the American. Like,
right.
It's explaining it right here. And it's kind of funny, even through that marriage and adoption, it's like, where does that end though? Because like you were saying there, we know about the frontier, picking up families, moving to these plains, it's, these flatland areas, they're moving into it. So is it like, okay, now since Susan is married to, let's say, Chief Big Bear, and now it's all of Susan's family considered now a Choctaw member? Or how does that work? Like, because they're not giving a lot of details in regards to where it in, because it's basically saying once you're married, then you are considered Choctaw, Chickasaw. So it's kind of like, okay, now does that open up even more floodgates for them to bring their family?
Sorry.
What I'm saying? So
what Chief Alligator was kind of saying, now you're a part of this nation, which is just confusing because you're watching the United States government practically just take two nations up under them and then control them and just not even allow that nation to actually come up with ideas or how they're going to perform throughout their daily lives. So you're back to what Chief Alligator was saying. Now you're a part of this nation and they can just, like, the police can just come up to you, tell you what to do. all these little things, because now you've birthed or you're married into this or adopted into the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation. So again, yeah, back to what you said, because we're seeing how the European became, well, he can't become the American, but how he kind of paved his way to claim that title.
Paperwork himself in.
Right.
Paperwork himself in. Anybody want to pick up on Article 44, post offices?
I do.
Oh, you want to get your alligator?
Yeah, I'll jump on it. Article 44, make it brighter. Post offices shall be established and maintained by the United States at convenient places in the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, to and from which the mails shall be carried at reasonable intervals at the rates of postage prevailing in the United States. Chief Blackcoat just talked about it. They're infiltrated at this point. Once you start letting in different government agencies, different officers, now what they're going to do is intercept your communications. Your communications is your mail. They're going to put their post offices in your nations, and they're going to regulate any kind of correspondence. So they're going to know exactly what's going on as far as any kind of communication that these nations are trying to have with other nations. That's a classic one-on-one intel move. Y'all want to say anything on that?
No, you said it. Classic one-on-one intel move. Control the messages, control the mail. So yeah, now there is no hiding anything.
Right.
Correct.
Article 45. Chief Biko, you got something to say on that?
Nah, y'all pretty much drove the nail in the coffin on that one.
Okay. Article 45, all the rights, privileges, and immunities heretofore possessed by said nations or individuals thereof, or to which they were entitled under the treaties and legislation heretofore made and had in connection with them, shall be and are hereby declared to be in full force, so far as they are consistent with the provisions of this treaty. So if you're not going to let Europeans come through your area based on the previous article we just read, if you're not down with us having post offices and controlling your mail, if you're not down with us being in your secretary position and being treasurer over how much money you get, if you ain't down with adopting European peasants, if your treaty doesn't have all that language in it, then this is what we rocking with. That's basically what I just got from this Article 45. It says, in full force so far as they are consistent with the provisions of this treaty. So basically, if your treaty doesn't have the provisions in it that this one has, then this is what it is. And so we can kind of see the blueprint after this Silver Rebellion. We can kind of see how the European is basically just going to eat these nations or eat these tribes, eat these tribes from the inside out and put their people in them. And we got to remember that this is military occupation. The only way you can write this kind of language up and dictate terms like that is because you surrendered. Yeah. Never forget that. Yeah. Y'all want to build on that?
No, it's, we said like legit, like you said, from the inside out, they're legit putting their people inside them through marriage, adoption, amalgamation, because we're seeing again travelers, whether it's temporary or for work. So they're going to be quote unquote white persons in these nations for undisclosed amounts of time, some permanently. So now we're seeing, of course, intermingling, a lot of killing of your own DNA. And now you can see how, they're much lighter than us on the east of the Mississippi. Yeah, they don't even look like us no more because of all of that, mixed breeding over there going on. So definitely interesting point, like I said, really doing it from legit inside out. We're gonna take you all's DNA and legitimately become the American or a part of these different nations and tribes.
Chief Blackcoat.
Yeah, I'll just add again, just Chief Alligator kind of said it, but it's 1866 treaty being the new updated version of all the other treaties. So now everybody's following in line to these provisions. This is yeah. So if you're across this Mississippi, west of the Mississippi, and now this is your new treaty, you're abiding by all these forts or military soldiers, or however the nations are running as they continue to push west. This is not a new treaty. So we're seeing again back to everything we read, these 3-4 treaties before we got to where we're at now, how they're going to set up town, set up shop, who can do what, the adoptions. We're reading as they progress, but Chief Alligator said it again, how they surrender. So now that we got you to surrender, the progression going forward, this is what's going to happen. So, and it doesn't shock me that in Article 45, they said, hey, if you don't have this in there, because they're being very specific on what they want to allow and what they don't want to allow, keeping that U.S. and Choctaw and Chickasaw nations kind of separate, but in the same, still being ran by one mastermind, the United States.
I'll do one more. I'll do 46. Of the money stipulated to be paid to the Choctaws and Chickasaws under this treaty for the cession of the leased district and the admission of the Kansas Indians among them, the sum of $150,000 shall be advanced and paid to the Choctaws and $50,000 to the Chickasaws. So we can already see here that they ain't dicking them. You're giving $150,000 to one nation and then you're giving $50,000 to the other nation. But you're advancing it. That means you got to pay it back. You're fronting it, but you're already giving one nation a leg up because you're giving them 3 times the amount. You're giving one 50,000, you're giving the other nation 3 times that amount. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're making one nation more powerful. I'm gonna give you 150, I'm gonna give you 50.
It's the same way with the 3/4 going to the Choctaws. Like they've been doing this throughout the whole treaty.
Is it based off their numbers though? Is it based off?
Because we saw them inflating the numbers though too. Because they were saying 3/4 of the Kansas Americans are going to be considered Choctaws. So they're still pushing a lot of, I guess, favor towards the Choctaws. Why? I'm not sure. We haven't really.
That's what I'm trying to.
Yeah.
With correct me if I'm wrong, Chief Blackcoat. These are military concentration camps, right? To take Kansas Americans and blend them into a different nation and take African slaves and blend them in, and then take the Negro and blend him in, and take European peasants and blend them in and make them all get along together. That sounds like by force. That sounds like behind the rifle. Like, look, hey, you Kansas people, we're gonna march y'all over here. We're gonna count your heads. Yeah, we're gonna have you on a reservation, concentration camp, and we're gonna blend you in to this new group of people. So I can kind of see it if I'm looking at it correctly. Like all of this is by military force, and then hey, yeah, we're gonna give one group 50,000, another group 150,000. So yeah, who has a better chance of winning? The one that you fronted the 150 to.
Right. More resources.
I just kind of highlighted something too with in regards to how they kind of did it with I guess modern day Israel. Like that was another people's land, but they carved out that section of land for these individuals who are the Jews now, or are claiming to be the Jews. They carved out that land. That's why it's always constant fighting, because it's like, no, that's ours. Yeah, it was done under military occupation. They funded you all to get your self started. And that's why it's always constant battles between, happening around that area.
The Middle East.
So it's kind of hard, yeah. especially next to Israel and surrounding nations.
All right, I'll finish up. It says, through their respective treasurers, as soon as practicable after the ratification of this treaty, to be repaid out of said monies or any other monies of said nations in the hands of the United States. All right. So through their respective treasurers, as soon as practicable after the ratification of this treaty, to be repaid out of the said monies or any other monies of, or said nations in the hands of the United States. So as soon as everybody votes and agrees on this 1866 Indian Treaty, everything we fronted you, you got to start making payments back on it. So this goes right back to what I said.
Mhm.
They're playing with house money now. The United States government is playing with house money because they're financing these two proxy nations. And we know that these aren't real Americans based off this treaty. They're taking a bunch of people from Africa, Europe, and they're gonna blend them in with Kansas Americans, and they're gonna just come up. That's basically what they're doing. They're coming up, calling them Choctaw, Chickasaw, fronting them some money, but then they're gonna make them slaves because the borrower is slave to the lender. So when they advance these two nations the money and then turn around and say, okay, as soon as we agree on this treaty, you got to start paying it back. You're now enslaved to them.
Yep. They're probably going to do it with interest, and I think I see it here. But obviously, exactly the point I was going to say. You can't contract with them. Cannot contract. You cannot contract with them at all. So you'll see the run around, like you said, you legit became a slave because now you're owing them something plus more because it looks like they're going to apply some taxes or interest to it.
All right, so it says the residue not affected by any provisions of this treaty to remain in the treasurer of the United States at an annual interest of 5%, no part of which shall be paid out as annuity, but shall be annually paid to the treasurer of said nations. All right, so it looks like they're gonna pay this back to their respective treasurer of their nations. And so you're going to pay your treasurer back, but then you're also going to give 5% to the United States treasurer, where it says to remain in the treasury of the United States at an annual interest of 5%, no part of which shall be paid out as annuity, but shall be annually paid to the treasurer of said nation. So they got to pay their treasurer within their respective nation, and then their treasurer is in return going to pay the treasurer of the United States with the at 5% interest. Anybody want to build on that real quick, or?
Definitely that no part shall be paid out as annuity. That annuity part, because those are like specific payments that are supposed to last until a certain time, but they're saying it's not going to be like that. So you can't like accumulate these funds and then okay, now we want to start or what is it, the annuitization process, start receiving these increments of payments, whatever that payment amount may be. Is saying we need this annually. So like you said, basically as soon as this treaty gets passed, it needs to be starting, payments need to start being made on it. So they like we have a certain amount of time before you have to start making payments. So that was interesting to me.
I'll just add this government pretty much becoming validated at this point. We're reading again things standing out as far as this government, the legislative councils, the treasurer, people in positions already regulating within the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation. That's literally the only thing I keep thinking about. But when we go back into understand why are they allowed to write this up and then actually be able to perform it? And because that's what it was Chief Alligator was saying, having that barrel pointed at you. So now we're watching these nations we're watching the United States start to build as far as on the American soil, because now there is no going back home. So now, the mind is made, we're here, structure is being put into place, and we're watching America, or we're watching the new world become into play now. Because again, now that you're in debt to pay that back, you're going to till the land. And then going forward, this nation will probably become bigger. We'll find out the more we read, but again, just always sticks out to me. We're just watching this structure being set up on this land, and I always think about how our ancestors didn't do business like this. This ain't no business right here. They didn't do business like this. So all these words and these articles and paperwork, this was totally foreign to them, completely foreign. So it's like, okay, what are we doing now? But Chief Alligator again, alluded to being surrendering, and this is just the reality they have to live now. So now they're just trying to figure out where I fit in. You got 4 or 5 different types of bloodlines within a small community or within a small landmass, and people are just probably trying to figure out, where do I fit in at? Where can I be helpful? And again, these people are surrounded by militaries for sure. Because if I wanted to run back to the South, who the hell chasing me?
All right. I'll see if we can finish off 46. To be regularly and judiciously applied under the direction of their respective legislative councils to the support of their government, the purposes of education, and such other objects as may be best calculated to promote and advance the welfare and happiness of said nations and their people respectively. That whole little sentence, those sentences that I just read, that's a bold-faced lie. You've indebted this nation to you. You've told them who's going to be a part of them, like Chief Blackcoat just said. You just told them, hey, you're going to take these European peasants, you're going to adopt them in. Oh yeah, by the way, if you got government officials that's coming through your land, you got to let that happen. And if they want to stay for a spell or whatever and reproduce with one of your people, that's okay. So you got all these different provisions going on, and you owe them. And you got to work for them if other nations, if other tribes of Americans happen to run through the area where it's called Choctaw, Chickasaw. You also got to help the United States government, even if it means participating in their court system. So they got you every which way but loose at this point. I think the worst thing they could have did was sat down and contracted with these people. I'll say this, a good way to reverse engineer this whole thing, that's basically what we've been doing since we started this. But what happens if you burn all the paperwork? Because see, they like to do scorched earth policy. That's what they did to our ancestors. You burn our towns down, you burn our records, you burn how we operated under confederacies, right? What happens if their documents get burned? And then, I'm just, let me just play devil's advocate. What if we burnt their records and then went by color? Oh, if you're white, you got to get off the land. I mean, because they've played the color game with us.
He's not playing no games.
Facts.
You got a whole landmass. Asians, Mexicans, get your mom right. Y'all cousins, but get your mom right. Back to the Chief Alligator. I love when you always bring it up, burning the paperwork, putting it into flames, because this is the curse. We're looking at it. These words, this is what we're up under. So if there is a curse, here it is. You thinking there's law, you're thinking there's rules. That none of this is real. This is fictitious.
Facts. All this shit can be gone just by
and the curse is gone because now you're free.
Yeah, facts. Like a spell.
But there's one reason why you say burn it. And Chief Biko reads it every meeting when he reads Article 1, Section 10, where it says gold and silver are the only coins that can pay off debt. If they're not even adhering to what real money is under their government, none of the rest of this shit matters. Like they shot themselves in the foot. 1971, when they took the money out of their system, nothing else you say means anything.
Seriously.
But we have to really understand that. The worst thing you could have did was took the money out your system. Because now that you took the money out, that means they made all their citizens slaves. You understand?
Yeah.
Right.
It's all BS.
It's all BS.
Everybody a
Mhm.
slave though.
Mhm.
Every citizen under their government is a slave. Only the
Yeah.
people, just like we the people set up their government. If you're smart
Right.
enough to be the people, you
If
know to
it's-
convert your fiat to gold or silver. But the average citizen, he's a slave. Why? Because you took the money out.
Playing with Monopoly. You playing Monopoly.
Literally.
Like legit.
And the smart ones convert, but they also preach metaverse, this and that. But they know nigga ain't no money in that.
Yeah.
It's-
That's another game. Yeah.
like she was saying, the smart ones understanding gold and silver 1971, standard that nobody believes in anything else you try to take as currency. So this whole, shout out to the cryptocurrency world, but it's like that's digital finance, that's digital currency. Like that's a computer, like that's not even a real coin. That's literally a program, right? Somebody's coding that.
Yeah.
So when people's all like, big this one, where's the stock? It's a quick grab and go, but that's you just being a slave to this game.
Yeah.
Like that's not.
Is it really a quick grab and go, or they're dumbing down society? Because you figure 1971 they took the money out. It took a generation or a decade for people to get used to that, right?
Yeah.
Now what are they doing? Now you're at a point where they're telling you that a woman is not a woman. And a man is, once they can get you to work for nothing, then they can get
anything.
any fucking thing at that point.
Facts.
They're not even giving you real food now. They're telling you, you know what? That's an apple, but we can give you fake apples now. Why? Because you don't work for money. Like once you start working for anything that has no value, they can give you fake everything now.
With no value, it has no value.
No value in it. And anything that they give you is no value. Yeah.
Damn. No, that's crazy.
Value, yeah, facts though. like how you have even going to the like you said in the food, how you have something that doesn't have a seed that can't be reproduced.
Right.
Like, nah, they giving you bullshit.
I was in the grocery store today.
Everything. Now keep
going. But if they pay you bullshit every week or bi-weekly or monthly, you got to understand the people, we the people, they're looking at their citizens like, okay, we've been having them on this for 50 years. They haven't been paid money since 1971. We can tell them anything. You know what? Let's try. And people push back initially with the fake food, and they push back with men being looked at as women. But over time, through their marketing, they got us. They got society. They have their citizens. Everything that's fake, we're accepting it as real. Think about that, bro.
No, you said it. That's you just said a whole lot right then and there.
That's the game, and that's the matrix right there.
Because once you accept something already fake, once you've already put that dollar bill into your wallet, and you think, oh, I can go buy a McDonald's hamburger, and it really put that in my hand, you're already gone. We should have the first time they try to hand out these fiat
notes, yeah,
right. They should have been like, whoa, what is this?
Yeah, we don't deal this way.
I'm trying to figure out I wish I was there during the time of when they actually started integrating, like when they, how we get a credit card, and now we just keep getting more and more advanced with the credit card, and you can use your phone now. But what was the first dollar? Like, how did they get that out into the hood? Like, the banks,
how did they sell that to the people?
Right.
I'm gonna say the people didn't know. The people didn't know. The money, the words on the money changed when it went to fiat in 1971, and nobody paid attention.
Okay, because
they didn't realize that it said Federal Reserve note across the top. They might have took some years for them to be like, wait a minute, this shit ain't redeemable.
Because and get some real cash or real money.
And then what? That's the same thing with the IE quantitative tightening. They doing what? Burning paper, burning
paper.
Yeah, burning documents. Burning the documents. It's like even the coins. Okay, we got to stop the circulation of these coins because they're giving false information. You see what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is saying whether this would have been backed by something, but it no longer is. So we can't even have this out in circulation because we're giving misinformation. So we got to make sure we're in alignment to keep that karmic debt to a minimum, pretty much. So great points. Great points. Y'all want to stop off on 47? We only got a few more articles left, so we can pick up on 47 come next week.
Okay.
Got up 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, pretty much.
Five more. Yeah. So.
I was just gonna say, just all we gotta do is ask any government personnel one question. If you don't have any money in your system, why does anything else that you say matter? They cannot answer that question. The worst thing they could have did was took the money out. Once you took the money out, nothing else you say matters.
To us, because the European, the foreigner, the immigrant, this works for them.
Mm-hmm. They
I don't think they
like
know.
this
I
system.
think even
they don't know either.
Even the hardcore redneck, I don't believe he really understands that there is no money.
There's no money. And if they did understand, do you think they would choose? You see what I'm saying?
They would have burnt that White House down, bro. Because
they realize they're working for nothing.
Come on, bro. If they really realize that
they're slaves again.
They're slaves.
Yeah, I'm about to say realize they're slaves again. Facts.
Yeah, bro.
That's
what is a slave?
Well, we said that.
No, seriously, what is a slave?
A
person who works for free.
Yeah, nothing.
Damn, and ain't no money in the fucking system. You work.
If there is no money, what are you doing?
We Sims characters, dog. Yeah, Sims. Just fucking do anything you want with your.
Great point. Do anything you want with this fiat, and like you said, the ones that are really tapped in, they say, like, okay, I'll play y'all game. I'm finna redeem. I'm a redeemer. Y'all probably don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna get me some actual gold, silver,
and those are your great investors. Your great investors understand this shit because they know, this isn't real money. You gotta convert that shit. I mean, Derek Grace, I always watch him. I don't know how much gold he's sitting on, but Buddy know, like, this ain't none of that real.
That's a great point, but yeah, they would have burnt that shit down because they would have snapped. Damn, we back to.
Would they burn it down though? Because this feels so good.
Nah.
I see what you're saying though, Chief Black Coat.
Who go burn it like that?
Because it's like I feel you too. Because I like some people
they
want to be plugged in, dog. Just like the Matrix. He's like, look, I don't care if it's fake. I don't care if I'm not eating real steak. Right. He knew he was in the game. He didn't give a fuck. He said, I'd rather be ignorant than than understand what now I have to do more to get up out of here. So a lot of folks, man, they gonna say, hey, take that cruise control.
I'm gonna stand on it. I'm gonna say most people don't know, bro. I'm gonna say if most people really knew that there was no money since 1971, I think it would be anarchy. Now, the Europeans that do know there is no money, I think they do get a hard on by watching quote unquote Black people get killed the way they get killed. Like that's the only entertainment you can have now. Like once they realize, like, wait a minute, there's no money. Yeah, but your level of citizenship isn't like those people over there.
Right.
And so every now and then we get this trauma through TV going back to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I just think it's very interesting that nobody is interviewing this man's parents.
Nothing.
Nobody is interviewing any organization that he was a part of for him to move as tactical as he was moving. It's just interesting how the media, if you're not a prisoner of war, how is the media just saying, oh yeah, that 18-year-old that just did that helmet cam and showing you how he killed 10 people and how he was fluent, one shot, one kill. Every time he pointed at somebody, they went down. No, that's just a one-off thing. He wasn't part of anything. And how do we let that go? You don't even know what his mom and dad name is.
Facts.
I heard he live in a nice neighborhood though, in a nice house.
I mean, but think about how do we let that slide? That this boy, now I ain't gonna say boy because he's grown. He's 18. Man. How do you not know who his parents are?
Right.
How do you not know his parents are?
Right. The citizens. How don't we know that? He is a minor or almost a minor. Well, he's an adult now. He's 18.
Right. He can't drink alcohol, but he's old enough to join the military. But he's 18 years old and we don't know nothing about his family. He's just supposed to be a lone wolf at 18 years old, and we go for it.
Saw a meme today saying that Will Smith's slap lasted longer in the media than this young man or this grown ass European soldier, part of the militia, you know, did on the outlets of the media. Like that shit lasted what, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and it bled out by the middle of the next week.
So much
That's
trauma.
scary, man.
Yeah.
Control the media. Yeah.
You don't
Control
know
the
enough
minds.
about this guy. You don't know what clique he comes from. All you know is they're trying to tell you he was a lone wolf at 18 years old that wrote like a 30-page manifesto. And you're supposed to just say, yeah, all 18-year-olds do that.
The manifesto was blowing my mind listening to it. And I was like, oh, wow.
I was like, okay.
Like, that's a trained soldier. That was a trained soldier for years.
He's not rambling at all. Yeah, he's been indoctrinated. Like you said, he was trained.
Yeah, that's a soldier.
Think like that.
Nobody, because why did you do all that? Like,
yeah,
you can't grow up the way you grow up. And yeah, you can hate Black people all you want from the internet. But there is nothing in your mind that should say, you know what? I'm going to go kill 10 of them because my soul just like, you're coming from the suburb and all this bullshit. Like, come on, guy. That's a soldier. Nigga joined, whenever he joined, was probably birthed into it, however. But yeah, it is
Whose
scary.
car was it? Whose vehicle? Shouldn't you be an accessory? Because if he got your car, come on, man. All they gonna tell you is an 18-year-old. He's the mastermind. He's not part of anything. And the scary part is niggas fell for it. Niggas fell for it.
Who them tags belong to?
On his own.
Who them tags belong to?
No, that's you know, that's
common sense questions.
Common sense question, right? You know that.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this vehicle? I mean, he drove 2-3 hours. What vehicle is this?
How long has he had that AR-15? Who bought it for him? No question.
Exactly.
Bro.
The bullets, the rounds.
His manifesto said he's been doing training since 14, 13.
Okay, so there you go.
Come on,
one of those 13 through 15.
That's what's scary, bro. We're not getting certain questions out, but when our people commit crimes, come on, man. I mean, it's just amazing how we don't see it. Who gave him the weapon? Who gave him the car? He's 18 years old. Where did he work at? Go interview. You know, did he have a job? Where was he spending his time at? Who taught him how to write a manifesto 30-something pages long?
Correct. I don't give a damn about looking at no Dylan. You're not going to just see, you know, manifestos just be up like, oh, let me find a manifesto template. Nah,
a manifesto is right. That is exactly what it is, a manifest. And he fisted that. Yeah. Common sense questions. You got me over here thinking like, yo, how did the information not? Who does the car belong to? Who's it registered to? Like, that's blowing me now because usually anybody else they got Pookie, grandma, associated pictures of us all across, you know, person of interest or
web chart. Yeah.
I mean, look at Young Thug and with the so it's just come on, man. Come on, dog. We got it, but that's all. It's our fault. It's our fault because we sit here and continue to play these games with him. He asked one simple question. That shit just pissed me off because who car is this?
Right.
How did he get them? Like, what kind of car was it? Where did his money come from? And again, we allow these things to happen. Dog, like we gotta stop playing. These people really think they smarter than us. They really think we have them. Yeah, you've had us. You've had us for some while, but we tapping back into like common sense shit. Like, hold on, wait, what? And then, you know, another thing that pissed me off. I mean, it's little shit, but where was Facebook, Twitter, Instagram with the whole stand with us? You know, but we want to still be on these platforms and use that bullshit.
I mean, you just said something, bro, and I'm glad you're saying it because it's really common sense. Whose car was it, and how did he get the weapon? That's going to back you right into who we need. This idea that he's 18, he's a lone wolf, and let it go, and it's like we fall for that, and it's like, damn, are we that stupid?
And Chibico, you said it. If he was training since 14, he ain't get that. Did he get the AR at 14? Because he couldn't buy it himself at that age. So did he have the AR at 18? I only had it for a year.
He's training,
lying. He's been training with his weapon since who bought the weapon? And for the news just to not even, dog, we gotta stop playing with.
They did the same shit with the buddy up there in
they think we're stupid.
Wisconsin.
They think we're stupid.
No, shit, like that pisses me off now because it's like, well, where's the information?
And you won't
what happened? Is it
Look,
done?
they
Well,
want
they
to
don't think
look.
we're stupid. It's the people that's in the room, like Chief Biko says from time to time. It's the people that's in the room that's coming from the Black Lives Matter, NAACP. They get in the room with these Europeans, and these Europeans chump them off, and they act stupid. Like, yeah, he was just by himself.
Okay.
Like, there's
and they
no
take
way
it.
you leave out of that room buying that bullshit. Oh, so you mean to tell me this? This don't even make sense. How did he get a gun? He's in the state of New York. They got strict gun laws. Who bought the gun that he killed them 10 people with?
And I got an AR-15
Come on,
in New
y'all.
York.
Come on.
Like simple shit,
Come on.
man. Simple shit.
God.
Simple shit.
And we gotta hold them like we don't hold them, but like, yeah, back to the people in the room. You know, you get the Black Lives representatives that come to this hearing of whatever the fuck happened in Buffalo, and yeah, just go into passive aggressive stage, and niggas should be throwing shit, breaking pencils, stabbing tables, something like what. But maybe I don't know. I always talk about the boogeyman. Who is the boogeyman? Because it looks like we're afraid.
Just ain't got no warriors in them rooms. Go back to the historical points.
I know, right?
You're supposed to be in his hometown right now, wherever the 2 hours were that he came from. We should be in that town, whatever that city is, asking questions, making everybody uncomfortable. The fact that the media just says, no, it's just the 18-year-old. Don't worry about where he came from. Don't go looking into that. Don't do any investigation. It's embarrassing.
That manifesto was crazy, dog. Just the pieces we took from it was insane. So the fact that they're gonna just shrink this situation all the way down tells us exactly. Even though we can't,
big it was.
That, and even though we can't see those barrels that the Kansas Indians and people that went on that Trail of Tears that got pushed, we can't see the barrel now today, but the barrel is still there. And I think it's the media. They don't even have to point guns at you. Just put it on. We're so used to just getting the information from some retard functional channel, and it's like, oh, okay, that's what happened. Go on to the next day. We lost 10 people to a racist terrorist. And you know, our community not even, you know, harping down on this hard enough.
Yeah. You don't even know. Look, well, I'm gonna show now. This lets you know the media is on the side of you're being occupied. What's the name of the town he came from?
Exactly.
Buffalo.
You don't even know.
Oh, where he came from, right?
Yeah. You don't know. You don't even know where this man is from. That shows you that the media has got you lost. This man killed 10 people of your group, and you don't even know the town this man came from. You don't even know him. You don't even know what his
protecting them.
That's
what it is.
Exactly.
Protecting them.
So he was able to get handcuffed and taken into custody.
How can people?
You don't know nothing about that white boy. All you know is his name.
Yep.
You don't know what he went. You don't know where he went to school. You don't know if he got expelled for weapons in school. You don't know if he graduated. You don't know nothing.
I got this weird idea. Like, we are so powerful online in a way in my mind. I know they can suppress it. I know they can delete whatever. But I think literally, and Chibiko can kind of contest to this, we have a strong community of smart people on the internet, and a lot of people kind of gravitate towards those ideas or ideologies that come out for the group, for the tribe, for the nation, for the Confederacy, the Americans. And my ideal is, we are literally, if the code gonna start, it's gonna start digitally, but it's gonna have to be a repetitive thing every day of not just random bullshit, but saying the same exact thing on the internet. Fuck the whole algorithm up, fuck the whole internet up. And they're gonna be like, you know, because we don't have no power of the media. So make the media ours and just be on one type of record every day until it's like, yo, what the fuck is going on?
Every outlet, whatever your niche is as a YouTuber, you do your same every day. Same little propaganda for your regular videos, but we talking about the same stuff. When they click on it, oh, this ain't that shit. What they talking about, bro? I swear it's on every goddamn quote unquote black YouTubers page. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, everybody's, because like again, but one thing he said in that manifesto, man, that we have to get in alignment with is he said, yeah, just white is just a code of conduct. Like he said, I know I'm European.
The most important part that I heard.
But but the white is a code of conduct. So we understand what that code means. It doesn't have to be written. It just is understood. That's why he said, like, that's why he said when, yeah, I know you're Italian or you're some other, you're not really white, but for the time being, we'll consider you because we know we have a common enemy. Correct. Bro, why we can't get like that?
Which is why you don't know nothing about that white boy. That's why you don't know nothing about him, because white is a code. That's why the media covered it up. You don't know who his parents are. You don't know whose car he was driving in. You don't know whose gun that was registered to.
We're not going to take everybody down. We're not going to take everybody down for that. We're not going to
resources, man. That's what I feel like. You know, if we had resources, what we did in 2020 was supposed to still be here today, and we were supposed to scale off that. We were supposed to start there and then start branching off into smaller sectors as we did, but continue to grow. But that comes with resources. That comes with actually having a real code and not fuck niggas thinking, oh, we just gonna have a party and then I'm gonna get in and get out. Like Europeans is not, they are on the tightest code I've ever seen in my life. It's so tight they don't even talk about it. You don't know. So it's like, and we just got to get there. I mean, and it is because of the lack of the resources. I mean, Black people majority of us live in the hood. Like, we are confined to hoods or to less fortunate areas. So it's like people are just trying to get the bag, trying to, eat, and white people don't really have that survival mentality. So it's, think about all these other things. Okay, well, we are still part of the militia, so they have all these other things and time to think about things, and it just comes back to just lack of resources for our group. Again, back to 2020, if we had those resources, Jay or whoever the leader wanted to be getting hemmed up should have never really mattered. But that was kind of like cutting the head off of the resource. We don't have enough. So it's
That's
just.
what he said in that. It's a great point, because he definitely mentioned that. He said there is no leader, it's just a code.
It's a code, dog.
Everybody. So when you cut off one, it's just like, okay, another cell fills in that spot. That's correct. It's a big machine. It's no one head that's trickling down. We all understand what we have to do as a collective.
I'm gonna say this, and we can let it go, y'all. When you brought up Jay, nobody's probably gonna say this, but I'm gonna say it. The worst mistake that man could have did was claim to be a militia and then let the European give him charges and not bring smoke. That's the worst thing could have happened. You can't be the leader of a militia and there was no smoke after a bullshit arrest.
Like resources.
Yeah.
What if we could have got him?
Just I ain't gonna even say lack of resources, just the fact that you're claiming to be a militia, they rope you off on some bullshit, and that wasn't supposed to happen. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. Not if you are a militia.
We're supposed to take you back to our jurisdiction or whatever, but
it should have been no charges. Once the people stood up and pulled up, it should have been like, whoa, we fucked up. All right, so we're gonna have to it's just like Afghanistan.
I see it.
There's no respect.
But
that's the biggest mistake he could have made. So now you got to play this game with
like pulling your card.
Court system. Yeah, that's the biggest mistake he could have made, was bluffing to be a militia, and then when they pulled his card, he didn't let the dogs loose. And he paying for that right now. He paying for that right now. There's no way that man's supposed to be silenced. When you look at what that 18-year-old white boy did and how you know nothing about him, but then you look at Grandmaster Jay and you look at how he can't even be on the internet. There is no rules, bro. There is no rules. Come on.
Yeah.
Right.
Shit is all, yeah.
You don't know nothing like about this world, but he killed 10 people. You don't know nothing. You don't even know what high school he graduated from.
Nothing. But again, us understanding military occupation and being a prisoner of war, we're just dissecting the little pictures of the things that happen in America. So Jay, I wouldn't say he was pretending to be a militia, but he definitely got the people together. He was acting soul, and then he asked people to join, and they did. But looking at it from both sides of the coin,
it should have been smoke.
It should have
At
been
some point,
smoke.
should have been smoke at some point.
It should have been smoke from the people that agreed for the smoke. Because now that, well, man, if you join, I'm gonna stick to lack of resources, man. We ain't got it. So it's like,
got
hey,
commercial.
if a soldier gets captured, who goes and gets him? The family member that has to go to work on Monday to provide. They don't work like that. You know, millions of these, you know, being in war theater, these soldiers didn't have jobs. They were training all day. You know, they didn't go to work. There is no, the work was to be a
Yeah, this
soldier.
is this
You
is
know, so it's different trying to come out as a militia and still have day-to-day lives.
day-to-day operations that
When you join the
keep your
military,
stuff.
you're a soldier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's your job. So it's like it kind of started off in good because it's like, yo, you got me fucked up. And then it kind of kept branching off to more incidents, but it was never real because I gotta go to work on Monday. That ain't when you're trying to take your shit back, ain't no more work. Work's over with.
Mm-hmm.
It's time that we're trying to start it, you know, but and it could have happened, you know, him being the voice leader, if he would have said, fuck it, you know, Stone Mountain, spread that whole damn thing up. You know, all of us, I don't know if we went when it went to jail, but
Yeah.
you know, for him to allow that to happen, then that kind of would have went, you know, however it would have went, because now I got a lot of niggas on the loose. So it's so many things that could happen, but it comes back to just, you know, they starve us on purpose for things like this. Like, you know, always understanding Biden not giving us nothing, you know, our politicians always speaking around us and not making sure anything is specific. It just comes to starve them out. And this is what a starved out group looks like. Come together and then disperse because I gotta eat.
Facts. But shoot, I think we can end on that point, man. What Chief Black Coat said. So we'll definitely pick up next week on Article 47, I believe. And yeah, we almost finished, y'all. So
That was 47.
5 more articles and we'll be through with the Indian Treaty. But a lot of great information. And we're gonna continue to do this, y'all, because it's needed. It's needed.
You know, I think honestly, like once people catch on to like, okay,